Every great destiny is threatened not just by failure, but by distraction. Most people don't lose their future because they are incapable. They lose it because they are unfocused. Your goals are powerful, but they require clarity, discipline, and intentional living. If you truly want to rise, you must be brave enough to remove anything that steals your time, drains your energy, and weakens your vision. Distractions don't always look dangerous. Sometimes they look comfortable. Sometimes they look entertaining. Sometimes they look like just for now. But over time, these small distractions quietly delay dreams, bury potential, and keep people stuck in cycles they were meant to outgrow. Excessive social media use is one of the most subtle yet powerful distractions from personal goals. What begins as a few minutes of checking updates often turns into hours of scrolling, watching short videos, and consuming content that adds no real value to your life. Social media platforms are designed to capture and hold your attention, constantly pulling your focus away from meaningful work and long-term vision. Over time, this habit trains the mind to crave instant gratification instead of sustained effort, making it harder to concentrate on tasks that require patience, discipline, and depth. Another danger of excessive social media is comparison. When you constantly view carefully curated images of other people's success, happiness, and achievements, it creates unnecessary pressure and dissatisfaction. You begin to measure your progress against someone else's highlight reel, forgetting that every journey has unseen struggles. This comparison distracts you emotionally, weakens your confidence, and shifts your attention away from your own path. Instead of building your future, you become consumed with observing the lives of others. Social media also fragments mental focus. Constant notifications, messages, and alerts interrupt deep thinking and productive flow. Each interruption may seem small, but collectively they reduce efficiency, increase mental fatigue, and stretch simple tasks into long, exhausting sessions. A distracted mind struggles to plan clearly, execute effectively, and stay committed to long-term goals. Additionally, excessive online engagement replaces real-world action. Time that could be spent learning new skills, building relationships, improving health, or working toward dreams is silently exchanged for passive consumption. This creates the illusion of being busy without actually making progress. Without boundaries, social media becomes a comfortable escape from responsibility, challenges, and self-discipline. Removing or limiting excessive social media does not mean disconnecting from the world. It means reconnecting with purpose. When you control your screen time, instead of allowing it to control you, you reclaim hours of focused energy. That reclaimed time strengthens clarity, restores motivation, and allows your goals to receive the attention they truly deserve. Negative people can become one of the greatest distractions from your goals, not because they physically stop you, but because they slowly influence how you think, feel, and act. The voices you hear consistently shape your beliefs, And when you are surrounded by people who constantly complain, criticize, doubt, or speak from fear, that mindset begins to seep into your own thinking. Over time, their words can weaken your confidence, making big dreams feel unrealistic and strong ideas feel risky. Negative people often discourage growth, even if they don't intend to. When you share your goals with them, they may respond with doubt, sarcasm, or warnings instead of encouragement. They highlight obstacles rather than possibilities, problems rather than solutions. This constant exposure shifts your focus from what can be achieved to what might go wrong, distracting you from action and pushing you toward hesitation and overthinking. Another danger is emotional drain. Negative individuals tend to consume a lot of emotional energy through constant drama, conflict, or pessimism. Engaging in their problems pulls your attention away from your priorities and leaves you mentally exhausted. When your energy is spent managing negativity, there is little strength left to pursue discipline, creativity, or long-term planning. Negative environments also normalize stagnation. When you are surrounded by people who are comfortable staying the same, personal growth can start to feel unnecessary or even uncomfortable. Their lack of ambition can subtly pressure you to lower your standards, delay your goals, or settle for less than you are capable of achieving. This distraction is dangerous because it happens gradually and quietly. Removing negative people does not always mean cutting everyone off completely. Sometimes it means setting boundaries, limiting access, and choosing whose voices you value. When you protect your mental space from constant negativity, your focus sharpens, your belief strengthens, and your goals regain clarity and momentum. Unproductive habits are silent distractions that slowly steal progress while giving the illusion of comfort or normalcy. These habits may seem harmless at first. Waking up without a plan, spending hours on activities that do not add value, or constantly delaying important tasks. But over time, they shape a lifestyle that works against your goals. What you do repeatedly eventually becomes who you are, and when your daily habits lack intention, your future begins to drift without direction. One of the greatest dangers of unproductive habits is inconsistency. When there is no routine or structure, discipline weakens and motivation becomes unreliable. Some days you may feel driven, while other days pass with little to no progress. This inconsistency creates frustration and self-doubt, distracting you from the belief that steady effort produces results. Goals require daily alignment, not occasional bursts of effort. Unproductive habits also drain mental energy. Constantly reacting instead of planning, rushing instead of preparing, and responding instead of leading creates stress and confusion. The mind becomes occupied with managing chaos rather than focusing on growth. As a result, even when opportunities appear, you may lack the clarity and readiness to act on them. Another issue is comfort-based behavior. Unproductive habits often feel easy and familiar, making them hard to replace. Choosing short-term pleasure over long-term progress slowly weakens self-control. Each time discipline is ignored, it becomes harder to choose focus the next time, and distractions gain more influence over your decisions. Breaking unproductive habits requires awareness and intentional change. When you begin to replace wasted time with purposeful actions, even small adjustments create momentum. A focused routine strengthens discipline, builds confidence, and aligns your daily life with the goals you claim to value. Fear-based thinking is one of the most powerful distractions that can pull you away from your goals without you even realizing it. A fear does not always appear as panic. Often it shows up as hesitation, overthinking, and constant self-questioning. It convinces you to delay action, to wait until conditions feel safer or more perfect. While you are trapped in fear, opportunities pass quietly, and progress is replaced with endless planning. This type of thinking keeps your mind focused on worst-case scenarios instead of potential growth. Instead of asking, "What can I learn?" fear asks, "What if I fail?" Instead of moving forward, you replay mistakes, imagine rejection, and magnify risks. This mental loop drains energy and steals attention that should be used for building skills, taking action, and improving through experience. Fear-based thinking also limits vision. When fear dominates, goals start to shrink. Big dreams feel unrealistic, and bold ideas feel dangerous. You begin to lower your expectations, not because you lack ability, but because fear convinces you to stay within familiar boundaries. This distraction is subtle because it feels like being cautious, when in reality it is avoidance. Another danger is that fear becomes a habit. The more you listen to fearful thoughts, the stronger they become. Each avoided action reinforces the belief that you are not ready or capable. Over time, this mindset weakens confidence and replaces action with excuses, keeping you stuck in the same place while convincing you that staying still is the safest choice. Overcoming fear-based thinking requires shifting focus from outcomes to effort. When you learn to value progress over perfection and action over certainty, fear loses its control and clarity begins to return. Constant entertainment is a major distraction that slowly weakens ambition and focus. When every free moment is filled with movies, videos, games, music, or endless online content, the mind becomes overstimulated and restless. Silence and stillness, which are essential for thinking, planning, and self-reflection, begin to feel uncomfortable. As a result, it becomes harder to sit with your goals, evaluate your progress, or do the deep work required to achieve meaningful success. Excessive entertainment trains the brain to seek pleasure before responsibility. Tasks that require effort, patience, and discipline start to feel boring or overwhelming because they do not provide immediate rewards. This creates a mental imbalance where short-term enjoyment is prioritized over long-term achievement. Over time, motivation fades, not because the goal is unimportant, but because the mind has been conditioned to avoid discomfort. Another danger of constant entertainment is time loss. Hours that could be invested in learning, practicing skills, exercising, or building something valuable are quietly consumed. At the end of the day, there is often a sense of being busy yet unfulfilled because nothing meaningful was accomplished. This cycle repeats, slowly pushing goals further into the future. Constant entertainment also dulls creativity and drive. When the mind is always consuming, it rarely creates. Ideas need space to grow, and purpose requires focus. Without intentional breaks from entertainment, your thoughts become crowded, clarity weakens, and direction becomes harder to find. Reducing constant entertainment does not mean removing joy from life. It means restoring balance. When entertainment is controlled instead of constant, focus returns. Discipline strengthens, and ambition begins to rise again. Toxic relationships are powerful distractions that can quietly pull you away from your goals while draining your emotional and mental strength. These relationships are often marked by constant conflict, manipulation, lack of respect, or emotional instability. Instead of providing support and encouragement, they create stress, confusion, and inner turmoil. And when your emotional energy is consumed by unhealthy connections, your focus on personal growth and purpose becomes scattered. One of the most damaging effects of toxic relationships is emotional exhaustion. Constant arguments, misunderstandings, and negative interactions leave little room for peace of mind. You may find yourself replaying conversations, worrying about reactions, or trying to fix problems that never truly resolve. This mental weight distracts you from creativity, planning, and disciplined action, making it difficult to stay committed to your goals. Toxic relationships can also distort self-worth. When you are consistently criticized, controlled, or made to feel inadequate, you may begin to question your abilities and value. This erosion of confidence weakens motivation and makes it harder to pursue opportunities or take bold steps. Instead of focusing on growth, your energy is spent trying to protect yourself emotionally. Another danger is dependency on chaos. Toxic environments often normalize instability, making peace feel unfamiliar or uncomfortable. This keeps you trapped in cycles that distract, that dissuade from building a structured, purposeful life. Growth requires stability, and constant emotional turbulence disrupts clarity and forward movement. Creating distance from toxic relationships is an act of self-respect, not selfishness. When you prioritize emotional health and choose peace, your focus sharpens, your confidence strengthens, and your goals regain the attention and energy they require. Comparison with others is a subtle but destructive distraction that shifts your attention away from your own journey. When you constantly measure your progress against someone else's success, you lose sight of your personal purpose and unique timeline. Every individual's path is different, shaped by different opportunities, struggles, and seasons, yet comparison convinces you that you are behind, lacking, or failing when in reality, you may simply be in a different phase. One of the greatest dangers of comparison is that it steals joy and gratitude. Instead of appreciating how far you have come, your focus moves to what others have achieved. This creates dissatisfaction and impatience, making your own efforts feel small or insignificant. When gratitude disappears, motivation weakens, and progress begins to slow. Comparison also creates unnecessary pressure. Seeing others succeed can push you to rush your process, skip important steps, or chase goals that are not truly aligned with your purpose. This distraction leads to burnout, frustration, and confusion because you are no longer building from authenticity but reacting to external expectations. Another harmful effect is loss of confidence. Constantly viewing others as better, faster, or more successful can make you underestimate your own abilities. Instead of developing your strengths, you become fixated on perceived weaknesses. This mindset distracts you from growth and keeps you trapped in self-doubt rather than self-improvement. Breaking free from comparison requires focusing on progress, not position. When you commit to your own path and measure success by consistency and improvement, clarity returns and your goals regain direction and momentum. Lack of clear goals is one of the most common reasons people feel busy yet unfulfilled. When goals are unclear, the mind has no specific direction to follow, and this creates confusion rather than progress. Without a clear target, everything begins to feel important, and as a result, time and energy are scattered across many activities that lead nowhere. This distraction is dangerous because effort is being spent, but meaningful results are not being produced. When goals are vague, decision-making becomes difficult. You struggle to prioritize because there is no clear standard for what truly matters. Opportunities, requests, and distractions all compete for your attention, and without clarity, you may say yes to things that pull you further away from your purpose. Instead of moving forward with confidence, you react to circumstances and drift through responsibilities without intention. Another major issue is lack of motivation. Clear goals provide a reason to push through discomfort and challenges. When the destination is undefined, discipline weakens, and it becomes easy to give up at the first sign of difficulty. You may feel tired, unfocused, or uncommitted, not because you lack ability, but because your efforts are not connected to a meaningful objective. Lack of clear goals also makes progress hard to measure. When you cannot track improvement, growth feels invisible, leading to frustration and self-doubt. This emotional distraction can cause you to question your direction and lose confidence in your ability to succeed. Clarity brings focus. When goals are clearly defined, energy becomes aligned, decisions become easier, and distractions lose their power over your time and attention. Procrastination is one of the most deceptive distractions because it often feels harmless or temporary, yet it has long-term consequences. It convinces you that there will always be more time, that important tasks can be done later without cost. In reality, every delay slowly weakens momentum and increases the mental weight of unfinished work. The longer something is postponed, the heavier it feels, making it even harder to begin. One of the main reasons procrastination is so distracting is that it creates constant mental noise. Even when you are resting or doing something else, the unfinished task remains in the back of your mind. This divided attention reduces focus, increases stress, and steals peace. Instead of being fully present, your mind is occupied with what you should have already done. Procrastination also feeds self-doubt. Each delay becomes evidence you use against yourself, reinforcing the belief that you lack discipline or capability. This negative self-perception weakens confidence and motivation, distracting you from taking initiative. Over time, procrastination shifts from a behavior into an identity, making action feel unnatural. Another danger is that procrastination often disguises itself as preparation. You may convince yourself that you need more information, better conditions, or more confidence before starting. While preparation is important, endless preparation becomes avoidance. This habit keeps goals in the planning stage while opportunities quietly pass. Breaking procrastination requires immediate, intentional action. When you learn to start before you feel ready, clarity increases, confidence grows, and progress begins to replace pressure and delay. Unnecessary commitments are one of the most overlooked distractions that silently steal your time, energy, and focus. Many people have a hard time saying no, believing that agreeing to every request, invitation, or opportunity is a sign of loyalty, kindness, or ambition. However, overcommitting fragments your attention and dilutes your efforts, leaving little space for the goals that truly matter. When you try to do everything, nothing receives the focus it needs to succeed. One of the biggest issues with unnecessary commitments is that they create constant mental and physical strain. Juggling multiple obligations can leave you feeling overwhelmed, stressed, and fatigued. Your energy becomes divided across many fronts, and instead of making meaningful progress in key areas, you spend your time reacting to obligations that may not align with your priorities. This distraction gradually reduces efficiency, creativity, and clarity. Another problem is the loss of intentionality. Every commitment should ideally align with your values, purpose, or growth. When you say yes to everything, you lose the ability to prioritize and plan strategically. Goals that require focus, deep thinking, or consistent effort get postponed or neglected while you deal with tasks that may provide no long-term benefit. This scattered approach makes it hard to see progress, even when you are busy all the time. Unnecessary commitments also affect emotional well-being. Feeling obligated to people or responsibilities that are not aligned with your purpose creates frustration, resentment, and mental clutter. You may feel guilty for not being able to give your best to every task. Yet the truth is that trying to satisfy everyone prevents you from giving your best to yourself and your goals. Learning to say no, set boundaries, and focus only on what truly matters is essential. When unnecessary commitments are removed, your time becomes intentional, your energy is concentrated, and your focus returns to the goals that deserve it most.